So hi friends, thanks for joining in today. Today what we're going to do is to discuss the MBA counseling and guidance series. This is the first of the series that we're doing. We're starting with NCR, and very soon we'll do it in South and West and East of India. The idea for this counseling seminar for us is to have experts talk to you and help you decide how to choose a B school, how to choose the quality of B school, the best fit of your B school, and so on and so forth. And as I said, at the end of it, we are not essentially getting into what kind of B school would take you in, but how you would, in your own, make a choice of selecting a B school, applying for that, and actually taking admission in that. Because right now, as you know, CAT results have come, the counseling rounds are happening for many of the B schools, and this is a time for you to hear from the experts of what they would do if they were you, or what they would advise their own students to do if in the current times, right? So what we have is it's, by the way, it's live now as we speak. We have three experts joining in today. Professor Kushwaha, who's the chairperson of admissions and assistant professor of IT BIMTech Greater Noida. He's an MCA certified SAP professional with advanced diploma in software technology and systems management from NIIT, having over 23 years of experience in IT training, business development, and service operations. Welcome, Professor Kushwaha.
Thank you, Mr. Perry.
The second expert that we have is Dr. Himanshu Mishra. He's a Dean Student Affairs Associate Professor of Marketing at Jaipur Institute of Management. Dr. Himanshu Mishra is a management graduate from Banaras Hindu University and has almost a decade of experience teaching various papers related to marketing functional area like brand marketing, brand management, services marketing, retailing, rural marketing, etc. He's published and presented research papers in various national and international conferences. His doctoral work involved investigation of various factors affecting partnering and attractiveness in buyer-seller relationship in rural e-commerce models. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Perry, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
And the third expert that we have is Professor Dr. Tejpawan Gandhok. He's a professor of practice and vice dean at OP Jindal Global University. He's done his BE from University of Melbourne, MBA from UCLA Los Angeles, and PhD from Singapore Management University. Pawan is appointed as Pawan is a serial entrepreneur with a strong track record of investor returns and successful exits, including startups, high growth, and turnarounds. He also has 20 plus years of international senior partner level corporate advisory experience in country and regional head roles across Australia, USA, Southeast Asia, and India, with strategy consulting and private equity firms such as Helicon Partners, A.T. Kearney, Stern Stewart and Company, and the Boston Consulting Group. Pawan is an Indian-born, US-educated Australian citizen, former permanent resident of Singapore, and an overseas citizen of India. Thank you so much for joining us, Pawan.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. I just want to start off by, there is always for a student, students increasingly look at rankings and placements. These are two parameters that they start working on. Whereas the reputation of a B school is what matters the most, the legacy, the reputation, how you build the institution over the years, and so on and so forth. So starting with you, Professor Kushwaha, I think BIMTech has been there for a long, long time. Can you tell me, and obviously the legacy of the institution also builds in the alumni network, which spans across the globe as we know. So can you tell me how important is the legacy and the reputation of a B school when a student is actually selecting a B school?
Okay. So I represent Birla Institute of Management Technology. So the name is the name Birla, which is very reliable factor for us, and the legacy which we take from GD Birla to BK Birla to Birla Institute of Management Technology, which is having a lot of educational institution across. And BIMTech is 33-year-old institution. So when any student is looking for institution, they do look for the legacy, and usually students or even the parents, those who have got certain, you can say, belief that they want to send their wards to the institute where there are ethical practices, or they are producing entrepreneurs and all. So since our inception in last 33 years, we have got a base of around 7,000 plus alumni who are there in, you can say, different cities or globally present or heading around 300 CXOs are there, those who are heading the multinational companies. So that is something which is very convincing for any prospective student to understand, like what this institution have been and the rankings and the accreditations which we have. So that gives them very positive, you can say, uh, the very positive feeling that if they are joining any institution, they have got a long legacy where they can have the right ROI. So when I talk about ROI, basically when the student is looking, or when any prospective MBA student is looking for any institution, it is basically a matchmaking process, right? It is the best fit where they can join depending upon their past credentials. So it is not that they are aspiring to be there in the top B school or IIMs, but whatever is their past academic credentials or work experience they have, and the interest which they want to pursue as career. So if somebody with engineering background with good percentile in CAT, XAT, or any national level exam want to pursue, say, finance specialization or marketing specialization, so that's how they have to plan from their initial days of graduation, and then further taking up national level exams, and then they should understand what type of intellectual capital any institution has, so that the right ROI they are going to have, and the past track record of any institution will make them or give them the confidence that they are choosing the right fit of the B school where they can pursue their masters.
Dr. Himanshu, just taking off from what Dr. Kushwaha said just now, as we all know that, you have the IIMs at the top rung, but not every student gets in there. But there are a plethora of B schools which have opened up, which are doing yeoman service and have been there for ages and have been proven themselves in terms of outcomes. So is there something that, for example, let's take the example of Jaipuria itself. What kind of candidate is an ideal candidate who must be looking at Jaipuria School of Management?
As Kushwaha also talked about, that it's like a mix and match, right? What you have, what kind of percentile you have, what is your academic background, and where you fit in well, or which type of B school you fit in well, right? As if you look at India, we can probably boast of more than 3,000 B schools, wherein almost if anyone wishes to pursue management education, he can definitely fit in at one place or the other, right? So legacy is important, ranking is important. If I look at Jaipuria Institute of Management, one of the very essential aspect of the learning in the professional program is you learn through your peer cultures, or you learn through your peers. As somebody has very rightly said, that you become an average of 5% you spend, majority of your time with. So if we look at Jaipuria and the kind of candidate which we are looking for, it's good if he has a WorkX. We look for candidates. I'm not saying that they should have a very, very, their work experience and average work experience would be around 2 to 3 years. That's great. You should have a good CAT or XAT percentile. If you have, let's say, more than 60 or 70, you are on the safer zone. And then we have a very, very rigorous internal process, wherein we screen the candidates to at least 2-3 benchmark or 2-3 activities before we are finally selecting him. So we encourage students who have a good percentile, who have a WorkX, and we have students from a variety of educational background. So a good 1/3 or maybe 1/4 you will find will be engineers. A lot of students, of course, from the BBA, because they believe that MBA is the logical conclusion to their educational journey. So you'll find a lot of students who have done their graduation in management. They do join us. Then of course, followed by the BCom students. Rest 10 to 15% will be from other backgrounds. When I say other background, I mean art and humanities. Some students every year with good WorkX we get from the hotel management, who have done their graduation in hotel management, and then they have worked with different hotels. And then somehow they realize that they are stuck up and they are finding it difficult to grow in the hierarchy. So one big reason, what I have seen that people going for MBA education is to further propel their career.
Dr. Pawan, this is for you. You're a younger institution, so you can't claim a legacy of a few decades, but you really made a mark for yourself, right? QS ranking, all international rankings, you're up there. And I think in the shortest span that you created a name for yourself in terms of reputation of any institution, more so for law and then the B school, following B school. How do you, advise a student who's possibly looking at a young, vibrant institution like it can be you or any, the younger institution, because
Yeah.
you can't claim or brag about legacy, but you still are as reputed or maybe more reputed than many others.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent question. And I'm so glad you posed it that way, because I was wondering how I'm going to say something very different and dare to say something very different to what Kushwaji said, with all due respect. And I would also like to use my own experiences. When I first came to India, ISB had just started, and I was actually recruiting from ISB. As a senior partner, I was recruiting young talent from ISB. So my take on this is that, and this is my genuine advice to young MBAs, is to, particularly for those who are willing to march to the beat of their own drum, who are interested in not following the rat race and thinking about how do they best differentiate themselves, and I think this is really very, very relevant and important advice going forward, because increasingly the standard cookie cutter paths and the standard thappa variety mentality of MBAs and B schools are increasingly being questioned and criticized. So I would say, try to look for points of differentiation that match between the MPA, that program that you're seeking, as well as the points of differentiation that you are seeking to aspire for yourself. What is the fit between that? So, the interesting point is that the early risk takers, the ones who are willing to stand up and, be ones that are not riding on the coattails of other people's reputation, but are willing to be part of creating, a new path, are usually the ones that, stand out from the crowd. And those are the types of students that we find do very, very well at young institutions, particularly young institutions, as you just said. I mean, for the age of the institution, if you look at the speed of the trajectory and the speed with which we are used to doing things at JGU, and the aspiration. I mean, we have, for example, within a few years now, I joined JGBS less than 6 months ago. In COVID, the height of COVID times, we have just finalized tremendous partnerships with the University of California, Los Angeles, an amazing partnership program with the Singapore Management University, and also a very, very interesting articulation pathway that will enable students to divide their time between Australia and India, for example. So this is the vibrancy and energy and the speed with which, these sort of young new institutions such as JGU are able to do things. And again, the kinds of students who, get energized with, that sort of differentiation are the ones that, we would look to welcome. And I would also recommend that, particularly for the good students, जिसमें अपने फौलाद में जिसको अपने अंदर, दम है और उस पे, they have confidence in their ability, I would encourage them to not follow the rat race. Go do something different, go do something where you have a better chance of standing out from the crowd. And I honestly feel that in India, we have far too much emphasis on this cat, chat, match. I think these are all, rat race parameters, and these are all things that can be gamed. At the end of the day, 5 मिनट की कॉन्वर्सेशन में पता लग जाता है कि बंदे का दिमाग के अंदर बत्ती चल रही है कि नहीं चल रही है. एंड आई ऑफन जोकिंगली से बॉर्नवीटा पीने से तैयारी जीत की नहीं होती और मेंटोस खाने से दिमाग की बत्ती नहीं जलती. बट तैयारी जीत की भी चाहिए और दिमाग की बत्ती भी चाहिए. So as Himanshu ji said, the good institutions will invest time in the one-on-one interviews and conversations, and will invest time in looking for well-rounded candidates beyond just, cutoff scores and cutoff parameters. because and this is a particularly, vexed and vexing problem in the Indian context. We have a rat race problem, and we compound that rat race problem by pushing people to chase more and more marks. More and more marks come from rote regurgitation and repetition and chasing one right answer at the expense of truly understanding complex problems which have no right answer, which have multiple solutions. So these are the kinds of people we are interested in, because that is the nature of the real world economic problems, and the real world problems don't look for standard pat answers, right? In fact, interestingly, the past of the MBA was made up of engineer MBAs because they were good analyst number crunchers, because the era was desktop computing analysis. Going forward, human skills is going to be much more important. So everybody keeps saying, the STEAM A in STEM, the liberal arts factor added to STEM. True poets and quants, people who have the ability and the confidence to imagine different things and do things, march to the beat of their own drum. So these are the kinds of people we're looking for, and these are the kinds of people who will, appreciate doing an MBA housed in a truly multidisciplinary, social sciences university. Design thinking का मतलब क्या होता है, doesn't come from doing one course, for example.
So Kushal, this is for you. We now have this huge debate about PGDM versus MBA and so on and so forth, right? And there's been a proven case multiple times over that a PGDM has greater autonomy, because of which actually it's more flexible in that sense. And of course, Jindal being an IOE itself has its own flexibility that it's granted to it. So you were granted graded autonomy, one of the very few, I think 3 or 4 institutions that have been granted graded autonomy for yourself. How does freedom to create your own curriculum, your own pedagogy, and your own course help an institution, as far as learning outcomes, and obviously the outcome that the student is looking for, which is placements? How does it help a BIMTech kind of an institution, the autonomy that you got?
Okay, so BIMTech has got a graded autonomy from AICTE. This is being given to very few institutions, rather only 3 of the institutions have been given this A+ graded autonomy. So this gives us the privilege to start our own courses, design our own courses. And recently we have started with PGDM online course. Besides that, we are also offering executive PGDM program. Now, since with the regulator norms and all, though there is a boundary there also, that you cannot enroll number of students, or you cannot decide upon the fee. But with the graded autonomy, it means that that with the proven track record of offering PGDM program over the years, with the experience which the institution has got, and the intellectual capital and the facilities which we have got, we can start with certain courses wherein we can design it as per the market demand, and we can offer at our own pace, right? So usually any AICTE approved institution, they can give postgraduate diploma for 2-year full-time course. But now we have got that autonomy to offer courses which is of short-term course or diploma or certificate program. So that is what is meant by, and that gives us more autonomy to start any course which is desired by the market, where there is a demand in the market. So that is what graded autonomy means. And we have been doing a lot of things in this direction. Like recently, as I said, we have started with the PGDM online course, and then there are certain certification courses which is like fintech or blockchain or e-commerce technology or financial certification courses. So those are there in the pipeline.
Dr. Himanshu, this is for you. Because of the PGDM versus MBA debate that's happening, and IIMs are most likely to offer MBAs as we move along, can you, for the benefit of the students, explain to them how an AIU recognition, which is what you are, makes your PGDM equivalent to MBA? Can you just explain to the student in the most simplest of the terms?
Yeah, as I believe most of the students must be very well aware that if you look at the PGDM domain and the MBA domain, then PGDM is basically offered by the private institutions, which are, and the primary condition is you should be approved by AICT. That is what the students have to be cautious about. If you look at MBA, then MBA is a degree course, which can only be offered by a university, whether it is central university, private university, or a state university, or an institute which is affiliated to a university, right? And as we have been talking about the autonomy and so on thing and more flexibility with the PGDM. So now if you look at this PGDM, typically what our experience has been that although private education and especially private education in the professional program has grown many folds in the last 1 decade in India, but still somehow or the other, a lot of organization they still operate with that older mentality. That in many PSUs you will find that when they are recruiting management graduates, they will say it has to be a 2-year degree program or MBA. And if I look at the example that, a lot of students, they were facing the challenges that they want to appear for NET and qualify JRF. But under the current norms, they are not able to, only the MBA candidates are eligible to apply for that, right? If you have PGDM, you're not eligible to apply for that. So that is where we had gone for this AIU, which stands for All India Universities, wherein if your courses, they are also approved by AIU, you are not equivalent, but you are exactly equal to MBA. So the PGDM which we are giving is not equivalent to MBA, it is equal to MBA. You can apply in any government job. If you wish to go for NET or any such thing, you are free to do that. So I think, that was something which we did based on the requirement of the students. And I think, Pavanji, what he talked in these earlier talks was something very interesting, that actually the traditional system is teaching the students how to handle the multiple choice questions, right? While the need is to train them to multiple choice answers, because you cannot have a standard solution. You cannot just have one answer to a specific question. That is what management education is all about. You have to look at things from various perspectives. So these graded autonomies, the flexibility is actually helping us to move beyond our domain, and we have started offering a lot of liberal courses as well. So as far as AIU is concerned, in simple terms, this makes your PGDM equal to MBA, right? And the benefit would be that you can apply in any of the PSUs or any of the government vacancies. Plus, you can also apply for NET, JRF, or you come into academics, you want to pursue higher education from the Indian system, that becomes easier.
Pawan, this for you. While everyone talks of the ranking and the out and the placements and all, students rarely look at the quality of faculty that actually teaches at the institution. And obviously, the fact that you get placed is because you're taught so well that the learning outcome is so good that you can actually get placed, right? And Jindal has, for all that I know, has been really getting some of the best faculty around. Can you explain to the student of how important it is for them to look at the quality of faculty when they're selecting a B school?
No, absolutely. I'm glad you asked that question, because I was wondering what I would say to the previous question, because we don't have that trade-off, because we have the best of both worlds. We have the autonomy as well as the MBA, degree. I think this point that you made is absolutely crucial. And in fact, I would actually say more so to the point that it's not so much no longer about faculty teaching, because as we were discussing before this session started, the learning rarely happens only in the classroom. The majority of the learning actually happens outside of the classroom. So actually the importance of the faculty is that students should be evaluating is in the faculty skill sets in helping them learn as opposed to teaching. These are two fundamentally different things. And so, at Jindal, at a university-wide level, and especially at the business school level, we are very big on experiential learning. And we have faculty, people like myself, and many others who have not only outstanding pedigrees in their PhDs, but people who have tremendous industry connect and very significant experience coming from those backgrounds. So the nature of the mentoring and also the smaller groups that we have, a 60 to 70 size cohort. And so it's not about, so the kind of person, and we have over 100 faculty at the business school itself at JGBS. So the kind of that kind of faculty to student ratio, the kind of mentoring quality that you get, right, and the immersion that you get, not just in learning, and that's where I think the most important thing that students should be looking at is and that is something that they can gauge very easily by talking to the current students or looking at the alumni, connect, and the not only the strength of the alumni amongst themselves, that's clearly an important factor, but also the strength of the relationship that the alumni have with the faculty, right? And so these are the parameters that really matter much more. They don't come across in mechanical rankings, et cetera, particularly for rapidly sort of growing, sort of institutions, and particularly, I mean, at a time where the role and value of business schools and the role and value of MBAs is widely being questioned, and I would say rightly so, right? So it's very important to not do a cookie cutter and follow ki log kya kahenge ya bhed chal. It's very, very important to step back, treat this like a bespoke, custom fit suit tailoring exercise. Don't go for standard off the rack online e-commerce ordered stuff jaldibazi mein. Get the measurements, find people where the B school is willing to tailor and personalize to you. So I hope that answers your question.
Professor Kushwaha, this is for you. I know because you got a 33-year-old history and you have such a huge alumni network. Can you explain to the students how important it is to have a huge alumni network for them to gain the fruits of the institution where they studied? Because it's obviously life term that they're going to be handholding each other and helping each other or assisting each other.
Okay, so as you rightly said, like there is a lot of hand-holding which is done by the alumni. So in past 33 years, we have got our alumni base of around 7,000 plus. And we have been doing a lot of activities, engagement with alumni, from designing of the course curriculum to mentoring of the current student and the prospective student interactive sessions, and then the selection process, or even calling them on campus for conducting guest lecture. So there is a whole lot of activities where we have been engaging or inviting alumni on campus or nowadays online for interaction programs. And then we do get a lot of support from the alumni in terms of the placement process also. So a lot of leads comes from these alumni where even the prospective student, we have got a referral scheme where the prospective student can be referred through any alumni. So there is no weightage given or there is no preference given in the selection process, but we do ensure that when any candidate is referred through any alumni, that means he or she is having very good, you can say, feedback about the institution. And the alumni also understand that he is the right fit for the institute. Then only he is going to recommend the candidate. So that is, and in the selection process also. And in fact, once the alumni is there with any company for say 10, 15, 20 years, they do recommend their organization to come to campus for recruitment. So that is where we are engaging with all the alumni, and we do have alumni chapter across metro cities in India and 6 international chapters where we conduct annual alumni meet or chapter meets.
Would you, Himanshu, would you want to add to what Professor Kushwaha said, especially about the alumni meets and that really benefit students?
I think no doubt, in professional education, alumnus does plays a very important role, right? And, as we commonly said that your net worth is your network, how well you are networked. So alumni, if you look at from the management education perspective, yes, as Kushwaha ji briefly pointed out, that they are actually helpful in each and every phase. So when it comes to curriculum design, almost every year we take inputs from the alumni, that what is the change which they expect, what are certain new courses which they want us to teach, and what are certain changes which they want to do in the existing courses, right? And then, of course, we also do rope in our alumni in delivery of these courses. We rope them up in while we are preparing them for the placement processes. So whether it is mock interviews or whether it is, grooming these specific candidates based on their interest. So if somebody is interested in marketing, so the institute will facilitate its connect with some of the individuals who are doing very good in marketing, and on regular frequency they will be guiding them, they will be taking mock interviews, and they will be doing all sort of stuffs, right? So we also do have all the local chapters in the major cities. We also have 4 international chapters wherein regular this alumni thing happens. And since we have 4 campuses in Lucknow, Noida, Jaipur and Indore, we also get the advantage of combined alumnus base. So we do conduct certain alumni meets which are combined for all the 4 campuses. So you get students from all across India and all and in different organizations working in different profiles. So this is something which is very, very important to me. If you ask what Pavanji talked about faculty, the 3 most essential parts of a selecting a professional or a management education is look at the quality of the faculty, right? Then you learn more outside the classroom. So you have to look for the peers as well, at what is their background, what is the diversified thing they are, and then of course the alumnus, right?
Uh,
So faculty, alumnus, and these peers. To me, it's a very important triad when it comes to learning in a B school, right? And all of us are, we know the story of what a mentor can do to a student, right? एक चाणक्य चंद्रगुप्त मौर्य को राज पैशन में आई गो विद पैशन, बिकॉज पेडिग्री तो रावण की भी बहुत अच्छी थी लेकिन वो कुछ कर नहीं पाया. बट इफ यू आर अ पैशनेट इंडिविजुअल, you have the fire in the belly to do something, जो पवन जी बार बार emphasize कर रहे हैं. I think you can do well by taking this particular course.
Pawan, this is for you. And again, I'm switching questions.
Sure.
For you, it is all about diversity that I want to talk, because a set of similar kind of students would possibly create a ghetto, right? So what is your opinion about the kind of quality of diversity that a class has and how it improves learning outcomes?
No, absolutely. This is one of the most important features, and the diversity is not only superficial. The diversity we look for, and in fact, increasingly, you will see there's increasing amount of neuroscience and learning, evidence showing that it is the versatility within each individual's brain that is, extremely important. And it's particularly important in the Indian context, where our sort of there is a lot of damage that the conventional, school system and even conventional undergraduates, just the road to sort of, ratification does. And so going to a world-class, university, right here in India to have an opportunity to get a world-class MBA is one of your, in many ways, I would say, very important chance to kind of, get, change one's perspectives, and most importantly, inculcate the lifelong learning skill. This skill to learn without being taught. Point number 1. Point number 2, to appreciate that the most important journey is that of being a polymath. So this trade-off between breadth and depth, there's pressure on us to specialize, yet we must have, a broad enough platform and an appreciation of a variety of areas of inquiry to therefore equip ourselves to continue to upgrade or change our specializations. So this aspect, works beautifully well in a multidisciplinary university. So even blending in this point about diversity with your alumni point, The advantage at a JGOU is that you are sharing, residential facilities as well as actual classes cases with law students, with students of public policy, with liberal arts students, etc. So you are starting to look at, topics and issues like mergers and acquisitions or climate change, or many of the germane issues such as economic recovery, and what is the meaning of economic recovery, what is the meaning of rebuilding the economy beyond merely chasing GDP growth. These sorts of issues, when you start to have discussions across these variety of perspectives, not only are you boosting fantastic alumni relationships for lifelong value, but also your ability to look at these issues beyond just a standard business school or an MBA perspective. So the diversity we look for very strongly is inside the mind of each individual. We are looking for those poets and quants. One of the key terms that you will find is extremely emphasized and important, and as well as encouraged, is imagination. This is a word that you find very rarely. We always, in most B schools, we largely talk about analysis and number crunch. In addition to that quantitative ability, of course, that quantitative ability is needed. But in addition to that, we look for that creativity, that imagination. And so that's why you will find that we have a very broad, range of students. And that's the other reason. It's not, we refuse to go with single dimension, number cutoffs and stuff like that, because as I just said, that intellectual curiosity, and in fact, I would actually also go to that intellectual curiosity can many a time, in fact, to pursue a polymath journey, you need to be Pareto efficient. You बाल की खाल निकालने की जरूरत नहीं है. अगर Leonardo da Vinci बनना है, तो you have to be, understand principles of physics as well as mathematics, and yet be a great artist. So it is this Pareto efficiency of being a polymath that actually equips you to be able to rapidly come to the grips of the key issues in a field, right? And this is this learning skill set, which, I would encourage MBA aspirants कि अभी ये skill acquire करना ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है, rather than, a lot of people focus wrongly on saying कि अब R सीखना है या some form of AI analytics सीखना. Please understand, those topics were not there 7 years ago, and those topics, by the time people start to get making any progress in their career in 5 years time, something else will be the flavor du jour. So I'm not saying don't learn art, by all means. उसमें ज़्यादा देर लगती नहीं है, ज़्यादा fight नहीं है, सीखना ज़रूर सीख लो, but that is not the most important skill. The most important skill is the ability to learn, to keep learning, and have that intellectual inquiry. So that is why you will see the range of faculty that we have. That is why you will see that range of diversity in the types of people we look for. And you'll also see that diversity in the range of outcomes of our students that we celebrate. Many of their outcomes and successes are not captured in conventional placement statistics because they're pursuing tremendously satisfying entrepreneurial journeys or adding fantastic value back to their family businesses. Those numbers are not coming. हमें भी फिक्र नहीं, हमें भी फिक्र नहीं है, because हमें पता है कि बड़ा होके नाम वो लोग कमाएंगे. Right?
Professor Kushwaha,
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Professor Kushwaha, this is for you. Because you're placed in NCR, you're located in NCR, in terms of internship, in terms of corporate interactions, in terms of placements, do you have a slightly unfair advantage as compared to institutions which are not in NCR?
You mean to say institutions or the companies?
You have a locational advantage as BIMTech.
Okay, so locational advantage for BIMTech, you can say that when we started in 1988, we were there in Delhi. That was in one of the floor of Birla Vidya Niketan in Pushp Vihar. And then in 2004, we got shifted to a Knowledge Park in Greater Noida. Okay, so being in Delhi NCR is definitely, it's an advantage in terms of, you can say, we are there in the north, and most of the students, those who appear, or the universe of MBA, those who appear for management entrance exams, they are mainly from the northern India, which covers the major part of the India. So that is one advantage you can say. Or otherwise, if we say the number of students, those who are going to be there with us, and over last few years, we have seen that we have got participation of around 27 states, and around 55 to 60% of the students are there from the northern state. So the advantage is being in Delhi NCR, though we are north based, but we are not treated as or categorized as the institution which is having only a student coming from Delhi NCR or states like Uttar Pradesh, or in the northern, the majority of the student. So one advantage is like we get a lot of students coming from the other states also. Plus, since we have been there in the market for last 33 years, we have got good alumni base. So so even the recruiters or the companies, those who are there in based in southern India, or maybe the eastern or the western part of the country, they do come to us. So we are not just treated as the north-based institution. So advantage could be like being in the capital of the country. So we get a lot of corporates coming from this part, as well as the companies coming from the other part of the country. And the number of students, those who join us, they are coming from different states. That is almost from every state.
Dr. Himanshu, would you want to add to the locational advantage of being in a metropolitan city? Because a lot of institutions in metros.
Moreover, Mr. Perry, just to add up to this, since we see there is a good participation from the female candidates and the male students, so the ratio is usually 60-40, 60% of the female candidates, that is reflected in the overall MBA aspirant data also. And we see that the parents are, that is the Indian psychology, that parents don't want to send their female wards until unless it is IIMs or the top institution of their choice to outside Delhi NCR. So that is also one advantage, which is they feel that their ward is going to be secure. And then we have seen during the COVID time also there is lesser movement interstate, mainly from the northern India to the southern India or the western India. So that could be advantage in the recent times.
So Himanshu, I just want you to limit yourself to the placement, the corporate interaction, the internships. You know, there is a certain advantage that institutions, the students who study in metropolitan cities have, maybe as compared to institutions which are not in the metropolitan cities. Can you just elaborate on that?
Just putting it very straightforward. देखिए मेरे हिसाब से कर्म भूमि और जन्म भूमि कभी disadvantage नहीं हो सकती, right? So whatever Jaipuria is today, as a matter of fact, it all started from Lucknow, right? So Lucknow campus is the oldest one. We just completed 25 years. And whenever this question comes to us, we always think of that if an institute like IIM Lucknow, they can do so well. So how Lucknow can be a disadvantage, right? Now taking it further and talking about the linkages, talking about the placement part, I think in today's scenario, being in any city is not a disadvantage. I don't remember the exact data, but 4 or 5 years, what I could see, that it was majority of the B schools in the NCR region who had put in the application for closer with AICT as compared to smaller cities, right? And since we are a 25-year-old institution, we have a strong alumni base, and we have all the provision in the courses also, wherein we invite every course, in every course which we teach at Jaipuria, certain portion of the course has to be delivered by some practitioner, right? So if I'm teaching marketing management, I will not teach for all 30 hours. At least 4 to 5 hours has to be taught by someone who is actually doing marketing. So he may be based in Mumbai, he may be based in Delhi, he may be based in any part of the country, and we will rope him. This online thing is not at Jaipuria because of the COVID. It was even much more before that. So we started our online, right, which we have. As far as the placement is concerned, I don't think in today's scenario, location is any disadvantage. Because most of the good companies, what they do, they will allow the students irrespective of their location to participate in their aptitude examination or something. If you clear it, even if you are from Lucknow, even if you are from any smaller place, you have cleared it, right? And they will be interviewing you, or they may call you at a central place. They may make one center wherein they are calling all the qualified candidates, or they may do it online, right? Our advantage is that since we have 4 campuses, so even if anyone is willing to conduct this after the initial screening, they want to do their further processing in the NCR region, we will make arrangement for all the candidates who have cleared that aptitude examination to go to Noida and appear in that process, right? So in that ways, location is at least not a disadvantage for us. We don't look at it as a disadvantage, and it's very very strongly in our heads. कि साहब जन्म भूमि और कर्म भूमि disadvantage नहीं होगी. We have to take maximum mileage of it. That's it.
Yeah. Pawan, this is my last question before I open the floor for you. It is easier for people like us to say you should not look at just placement, you should look at many multiple things, right? But ultimately for a student, the moment you put in a number called ROI and the metric called ROI and talk of fee and the salary and all, it all boils down to that. 5 years down the line, you can always say that placement is not the most important thing, the learning was important. What is your take on placement being one of the important parameters for a student to consider before joining an institution? Pawan.
Yeah, I think that it's a very unfortunate focus. I think it's one of the most important things we try to teach at business school is for people to look beyond accounting parameters such as ROI and look at net present value or other intrinsic value. And if our students themselves don't really get it, then there's a problem, right? I think a lot of this placement, I think the important thing is for students to have a good sense of their journey. What is it that they want to achieve from an MBA? How does that fit in with their career story? There, I would beg to slightly differ with Himanshuji. I do think that whilst I can understand his point that a location may never be a disadvantage, but I do think that the point you were making with Kushwaha, if you're in a major city, such as or the NCR, in the kind of breadth of interactions possible from internships, if you just think about the proportion of alumni that are likely to continue to stay on in that region as opposed to have moved on to other parts, the personalized career journey and mentoring and mapping advice, right? That is the most important part. If you think about it, the placement stats don't even factor, like I said, they don't capture the people who are pursuing entrepreneurial journeys. It doesn't capture in the attrition rates and stuff like that. And, I think it's fairly well known by many people that a lot of this, because this is such an important focused statistic, it is gamed, and it is gamed quite sadly. And there are many articles talking about these things. So I do recommend for students to think through a longer term career outcome parameter and not just be forced or focused into thinking about, because value is not maximized by seeking the fastest near term monetization. For Pete's sake, there are enough business success stories around us, right, where we see that the greater value is realized by business people and entrepreneurs who sometimes defer monetization and sometimes are willing to take the effort and risk of a longer gestation payoff. So I really do feel that longer term career satisfaction and medium term career outcomes, right, are much more meaningful that students should focus on. By all means, that can be broken down into the next step pathway, right? And clearly, what kind of opportunity they pursue, both for internships as well as for post MBA opportunities, clearly matters. The kind of help and mentoring and support that the institution will provide clearly matters, and those are the moments of truth. And my encouragement or advice would be is don't look at the average number, look at the range of outcomes, look at who are the people. If they are a good student, what kind of outcomes are they getting? If they are an average student, what kind of outcomes are they getting? Because that's, I think, the other interesting point. So for example, we have students in our program, they're getting opportunities at McKinsey, etc. They're getting opportunities at you know, to be ES, to in chairman's office. These are the so I think, in fact, if you're a smart person, right, would you rather go to a program where you can stand out from the crowd in a smaller cohort of 60 or 70 people, or would you rather go to a program where you will now need to be able to stand out from, you know, 900 people at ISB? And how smart are you going to be able to get that McKinsey interview opportunity? You know, because there's always prioritization and filtering wherever you go. So I think the treat this as a marriage matchmaking, not a mass swayamvar kind of, you know, tamasha that, you know, in many, you know. So I think, as you can see, you know, I detest rat races. You know, I am a person with multiple career. 12 career तो अभी तक कर चुका हूँ, जैसे आप भी पूछ रहे थे मुझसे, right? And I think that comes from looking ahead and trying to, you know, find paths that are less crowded. You never win a rat race by outrunning rats. You beat that game by crafting a path of your own, which is less traveled, right? So these are some of the, you know, gems of advice I would suggest for people in thinking about career success as opposed to, you know, campus placement.
Professor Kushwaha, the last question to you. You know, there's been a huge confusion in students' minds in terms of choosing a general MBA versus a specialized MBA, right?
Okay.
It's increasingly becoming a bigger issue for the student because every institution is offering multiple specialized MBAs and there is also a general MBA. What is your advice to a student, sir?
Okay, so at BIMTech, like we have got general PGDM program. Now this general PGDM program, because at the time of admission, we don't say that, or we don't have any course which is approved by AICTE, that PGDM finance or PGDM HR or PGDM marketing or operations. So usually the system which we follow is the candidate gets admission in as a student for PGDM program. And during their first 2 trimester, we see the interest as well as the performance of the student in, though the candidate or the student is very much clear about that with their past academic record, they are going to pursue, say, PGDM finance. But then we see that if somebody coming from the engineering background and wanted to do PGDM HR, and during the first 2 trimester, if their core paper or the performance is not good, then they get the counseling from the area chair and the faculty who's teaching the HR. So then he or she is rightly guided that which particular specialization is best suited for the student. So that is how, and there are institutions, those who are offering as course like PGDM finance. So there, I think during the selection process, and their sectional cutoff in the CAT or ZAT, it should be checked, and the competency of the candidate should be checked whether he is rightly suited for pursuing that specialization or not. Yeah. But at BIMTech, we are offering in the 3rd trimester.
Yeah, but Himanshu, again, the same question to you. When a student is given an option to choose a specialization as compared to generic MBA, what would be your advice to him? That, you know, you take the specialization of an institution which is good, or take a general MBA from an institution which is not as good, but it is giving a general MBA as an option?
I think one of the litmus tests which can be that the student has to be very, very sure what he wants to do. And this is something which is very, very difficult. And especially in Indian scenario, wherein I believe I don't have any data to support, but through my experiences and through my 14-15-year experience of interviewing a lot of candidates for the admission process, a good number of candidates, almost more than half of the candidates, they are just fresh graduates. And you know, if you ask them that which is the specialization you want to pursue, I have seen, you know, a lot of girls going for HR, Why HR? Because office job hai. Which sector you want to work? Sir, bank. Why? Because 10 से 5 का job है और job safe है. तो ये बड़े misconception है. So, what Kushwaha ji said, I think it's a good technique wherein if the candidate is a fresh graduate and he is not having any kind of corporate exposure, he should at least go for a generic kind of MBA wherein in the first 2 trimesters, he will be studying courses in all the areas. And then automatically in some or the other courses, he will develop some interest, right? This has been the typical way our interest has developed in the education, right from class 1 to class 12, right? It's by it's just a matter of experience that we develop some interest for specific courses. So I think it's a good technique. If the candidate is an experienced candidate, like he has a work ex in the banking sector, like we do get a lot of candidates who have worked in the retail sector. So we do recommend to them that now you can go for PGDM financial services if you again want to, work in the same sectors. So I think if you are a fresher, you have to be on the safer side. Please go for a generic kind of MBA. Let that interest automatically emerge in you. Let it not be a imposed choice on you. If you are experienced candidate and if you have a lot of clarity about the sectors and the roles which are being offered in that, you can of course go for a sectoral kind of program or a sectoral kind of management program. Right. This is what I would like to advise. And trust me, I have seen a lot of candidates who have made wrong choices. And what I say to my students often in the interaction, that if right from the first class of the first trimester, you will sit with the psyche that I want to specialize in marketing. Human brain is a fantastic machine. You will find it will shut itself when you are studying economics class or when you are studying a stats class, because you have fed him that I want to become a marketing professional only, which way you are not doing justice to the management education, right? So this is my take.
Pawan, the basic laundry list for you. What are the 3 things that you look for before selecting a B school?
Before selecting a business school?
Yeah.
Quality of faculty, range of outcomes of what the alumni are doing. If I see successful alums in the kinds of areas that I aspire to, then that need not be the average, but if I see enough of those as individual success stories, and the type of class, I mean, who are the people I will be interacting with? Will I get enjoy being with them? Will I get an opportunity to learn as well as contribute? Will I feel will I gel? Will I enjoy? I think those would be the 3 things that I would.
Professor Kushwaha?
Yeah.
The same question, sir.
Okay. So while somebody look for any MBA institution or PGDM institution, I think if I am there, I would be looking for, as Mr. Gandhok, he has rightly said, one is the peer group, the class profile, and then the faculty who is going to teach and the exposure I will be getting. Then definitely the reputation of the institution.
Yeah. Himanshu?
Yeah, I think I earlier also said that the triad which a student should look for is the combination of faculty, peers, and alumni. That's it. So I think if this combination is in place, you have every chances to do very well in that.
Faculty, peer group?
Faculty, peer group, and alumni.
Perfect. So I think I've got my answer, sir. Thanks so much, all of you, for joining in.